Earlier today, in his ongoing mission to change the subject, Trump made an unusual visit to the Federal Reserve headquarters in D.C. to bully, in person, live on TV, the Fed Chair Jerome Powell. After months of threatening to fire Powell over interest rates, which are not being cut because of Trump's tariffs, but Trump wants cut, Trump has now ginned up a story that Powell's somehow mismanaging the building renovation at the Fed, which is not using taxpayer dollars, by the way. But Fox News needs programming, so there was Trump today in a hard hat and a big imaginary corruption scandal he's uncovered. And this is really remarkable tape. With Powell standing next to him, tried to spring a trap that failed spectacularly.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about $3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1,
3.2.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look.
I mean, have you ever, Senator Chris Murphy is a Democrat of Connecticut, and he joins me now. You're talking about a building we finished 5 years. I mean,
I hadn't seen that. I hadn't seen that one yet. Oh, my gosh. I mean, listen, he's not upset about that, in part because the clip is so absurd that it is going to get played a whole bunch of times today, and it probably will, to some extent, crowd out this blossoming awful news for him about being included in the Epstein files. And so, you know, there are these moments when we think he's losing, and he probably thinks he's winning because he's back in the news for something else other than the most depraved of his scandals.
It's a good point. I mean, today was, again, one of these sort of transparently contrived set pieces. They have been trying to produce counter-programming precisely because they do seem to have lost control of this scandal. You know, I had a colleague of yours, Senator Whitehouse, on last night, and I've been talking to members. I mean, I want to get your read on just what we're seeing transpire, particularly with the number 2 at the Department of Justice showing up for this meeting today, the former personal attorney to the president, who's friends with Maxwell's attorney and appeared on his podcast, and now is going to go to day 2. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think broadly what you're seeing is the number 1 priority for this administration, which is the protection of the rich and powerful, the use of the White House to let Donald Trump and his friends get away with illegality, corruption, and immorality. This is what the entirety of the first 7 months of the Trump administration has been about. And this is probably the most naked use of his power to try to conceal his corruption. Now, he's been really transparent about the fact that the Department of Justice is not an independent legal arm. It is just his personal political counsel. It is now staffed by people who are loyal only to Donald Trump, not loyal to the law, not loyal to the Constitution, not loyal to the American people. And so, of course, this is outrageous because this is a lawyer who's paid by the taxpayers, but is definitely working to protect Donald Trump's political interests, going down to meet with Maxwell and, conceivably offering her the moon and the stars to change her story. She is, as your previous guest noted, a deeply immoral individual who is likely willing to say anything in order to have her sentence reduced. So, this is just one of many consequences of having a Department of Justice that no longer represents the American people. This is a multi-billion-dollar agency that is now in service of allowing Donald Trump and his friends to get away with absolutely outrageous conduct.
The New York Times reported out some of the sort of review that happened to the Department of Justice. And it corroborates some of which, the reason I bring it up is because another colleague here, Senator Dick Durbin, wrote that letter saying, I've been told they're running 24-hour shifts and they've got like 1,000 people on this and getting flagged for Donald Trump. And today, we have this reporting that that was basically what's happening. And, Durbin saying it's clear that President Trump and Attorney General are directly responsible for the confusion and mistrust around it. and said that the senior bureau official's account is highly credible, which now looks like it's been vouched for. Again, to your point about this being essentially an entire institution subverted to one man's will.
Yeah, and of course, there's two sides of this. So you have the Department of Justice now operating to cover up the crimes and the corruption of Donald Trump and his friends. And the Epstein files, it's not the only place this is happening. I mean, if you wrote Donald Trump a check for his inauguration of $1 million or more, you essentially were handed a slip of paper, and on it you got to write what crimes, what violations of the law you wanted to get away with, because all of those companies and individuals ended up getting a case dropped at the FTC or at the DOJ. So they're protecting the wealthy and the powerful connected to Trump, but then they are also using the DOJ to go after Trump's critics. And I just don't think we can, let the news of his threats against Adam Schiff or his threatened action against the Attorney General of New York become a 1 or 2 day story, because, he's doing two things at once: letting his friends get away with illegality, and then sending a clear message that if you dare come after me, if you dare criticize me, the Department of Justice is going to put you in jail. That is what happens in a totalitarian state, and it's not just Trump being Trump.
Gallup today has Trump at the lowest approval rating of the second term, 37% with all adults, 29% with independents. There's a 5-week recess now, and it seems like a good time for Democrats to hit the road. I understand you're going to go do some more of these kind of town halls you and Maxwell Frost have done. We've covered them before, of just like, go out and talk to people about what they think about these first 7 months in districts where there might be some folks that are persuadable.
Yeah, Maxwell and I are going to be in Dayton, Ohio, in a Republican House district this weekend. I'll be with Jasmine Crockett the following weekend in Phoenix, where we have a number of Republican districts that we can flip 2 years from now. Yeah, we can't take for granted that people know what Republicans just did. This is probably the most unpopular major piece of legislation passed by any party in the last 25 years, right? Throwing 17 million people off their health care to pass along massive tax cuts to the wealthy. But it's also, I think, particularly important in August to go to Republican districts, because what that Gallup poll tells you is that his base is starting to really scratch their heads and wonder whether they've been lied to, A, about the fact that he cares about anybody other than himself, but, also that these conspiracy theories he's been spinning, are either not true or just a means to cover up his own corruption and illegality. So I think it's really important to be out there talking to Republicans right now and giving them a permission structure, right? A permission structure to say, like, it's okay to question him. It's okay to be curious about the opposition party right now. And, hopefully with me and Maxwell in a Republican district, they'll see that Democrats don't have horns, that we actually, would unrig the economy and unrig our democracy if we're given power in 2 years. And maybe if we're doing that at scale, it'll have an impact.
Senator Chris Murphy, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. Still to come.